A vote for Sherrod Brown against Donald Trump. Brown spent 31 years in D.C. fixing radical liberal policies.
Call the meeting to order and ask that you stand for the pledge of allegiance and remain standing for passing on to the next prayer. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. We are grateful to you, gracious and loving God, for the abundant harvest of all farmers' crops and the gorgeous weather that accompanied the harvest season. We have convened for the village council meeting this evening amidst our hectic schedules. May all of the matters we must deal with today be beneficial to all of us, and may we be a compassionate and considerate community. May you ensure that all of the affairs of our village are conducted in a safe and orderly manner, particularly in relation to the November 5th election. Wish to all unite in prayer for the election of American leaders to support the peace of the world and our country. Help us all to become individuals who are capable of contemplating your intentions for this nation in order to elect leaders and presidents who are honest and open-minded and who are concerned with the growth of this nation and the peace of the world. May God bless and grant grace to all commit members who are currently engaged in the organization of the evening's meeting. We express our gratitude for all that you have provided, and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Young. Lisa, you can take roll when you're ready.
James Eitzen,
Present.
Gwen Dusa,
Here.
Bill Gritzmaker,
Here.
Mike Gunner,
Present.
Jerry Hayes,
Here.
Eric Rogers,
Here.
Timothy Waters.
Present. Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting of October 14th, 2024.
I'll move to approve the minutes of our October 14th, 2024 meeting as presented.
Support. Thank you, gentlemen. Lisa, oh wait, question, comments on the? None. Go ahead, Lisa.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yeah.
Jerry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
James.
Yes, thank you. Presentations and communications, we have a written statement. We're not going to read it out loud. Is there anything else for this section? Virginia?
And I just wanted to share, I was with the council and public. I was initially going to read this, which I can, but I feel you're all capable of reading. And then decided just to put it in writing so that it was on the record officially, what exactly I wanted to share. With the council and the public, if ever there are concerns or questions about processes or procedures, I'm more than welcome to or happy to look into those, to talk about those. But I do want to just make it known that our employees, I feel very confident saying, always are trying to do what's best for the village overall. And I just want to make sure that we understand that they are doing their job, and we appreciate that, and things will come up, but they are doing the best that they can.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Danielle?
I thought your response was appreciated. Thank you.
You go and read it. Sure. You go ahead then?
Yeah. An allegation was recently brought to my attention that members of our police department have acted excessively and outside their authority. While I have limited information, I conducted a review and did not find any information that any members of our police department have acted inappropriately, excessively, or outside of their authority. To the contrary, I have found that our police department is professional, courteous, and in many cases work very hard to de-escalate incidents to which they are called. All of our staff are hardworking, dedicated individuals who train tirelessly to be better, who day in and day out strive to do what is best for the village and all of its residents. I welcome all constructive conversations, including any and all concerns regarding the village's operations or any of our employees.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else for presentations and or communications? All right, I will entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
That's what we're doing tonight. Lisa?
Eric,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
James.
Yes, thank you. Public comment, items on the agenda, items not on the agenda. I just ask that you state your name for the record. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Luis Escobedo. I live at 460 North Bank here in Blissfield. And I came to the council meeting tonight just to find out if any movement has been made in addressing the issue with my sinkhole in my front yard to cause to a broken tile on the bilateral sewer line.
Do you have any additional information at this time?
I do not know.
We're gonna readdress it again. Last time I was here about 2 months ago, or a month now.
So I did email all of you guys some information regarding what Mr. Escobedo had spoke to you guys about. There was actually several emails and then some attachments that go with that. I can resend that. I never heard back from anybody, so I've not done anything with it. I can re-forward that, but my position remains that it is privately owned and would not be the responsibility of the village.
Well, when I was here last, James said something because all the water that's being held in my driveway during a rainstorm is going into the manhole, which you know, Mike, and it's water that should be going in there, it's being treated and processed at the treatment plant, which is going to be costing the village more money in chemicals to treat additional water that they shouldn't have to be treated because the water should be going there to begin with. And you said something that maybe we could address this issue on the aspect of saving the village money by undertaking this chore of replacing that tile.
Yeah, I was hopeful. I did speak with Danielle. And unfortunately, it seems like, and our legal team is also advising the same thing. This is a private property matter at this point, and I've yet to be able to come up with a secondary solution. So at this point, there hasn't been any further movement from me or from the village. I'm not sure what to advise to you at this point.
Well, when was I be notified if any steps were taken in one way or the other? I mean, I got me a sump pump ready for the next time I have standing water in my driveway is that I wanna hook up and I wanna drain my driveway, because we all know that water is going into the catch basin anyway. So I'm just trying to conserve as much soil that I have underneath my driveway slabs, so I don't lose any more ground.
Yeah, unfortunately, at this point, you might want to start looking into repairs to the broken tile. I'm not quite sure what else to advise. There's really not much the village can do on private property,
Well,
which is what I've run up against and been advised by legal. That's the threshold that the village just cannot cross at this point.
if they found out they didn't have an issue in coating with the liner, back in 2010, without my permission, or, you know, they did it on their own. But I would think maybe they assume ownership over it since they done it.
That's something we can discuss, but at this point, it didn't have to factor into any of the decisions we made.
Because I didn't pay a red cent to have that manhole liner installed. I didn't pay anything.
I believe that you've been, through your attorneys and through our insurance, contacted at least on 3 occasions notifying you that it is private and that it would be responsibility. And they specifically did address that issue as well. I can re-forward that information to you
Okay,
if you would like, if that would be
Sure.
helpful.
and then I have one last thought. Why do we, who use this bilateral sewer line, there's 5 of us home share one sewer line. But yet we have to pay for the maintenance of the sewer line and pay just as much as anybody else who has a direct hookup to their sewer line, and they're not responsible for that. Why do we have this extra burden of maintaining a sewer line when we share only one tap in? We should be paying 1/5 of what everybody else is paying, but we only tap in the sewer line just once, not 5 times.
You do tap in once, but you have a shared burden of that shared line where other individuals have, they are responsible for their service line from their home to the main. And they have to pay that 100%. So you guys have the ability to split it 5 ways because it's a shared line. So you use the same amount of sewer main that any other residential household does. We're not responsible for any private service line within the village of Blissfield.
Well, I kind of disagree. We tap in once and we should be splitting, we should be splitting our usage only because we have just that one tap in. And we have the burden of having to maintain a sewer line.
But I'm in the same boat as you. I'm in the same boat as you. 2 other houses are connected to the same sewer line that I am.
Mhm.
But I know I am responsible for that line out in front of my house, along with my 2 neighbors, if anything ever happens to it.
You feel an extra burden of having to maintain it?
It came with the house.
Were you notified that you had to maintain it before you bought the house?
No, I was not,
And it was not.
but it's an old property, and that's the way they used to do things. They would string 2 or 3 houses together and then tap in when they were built. I don't like it any more than you do, but that's kind of where I'm at, and I feel for you. But I'm under the same situation, same exact situation.
Okay, thank you.
And my house is 100 and whatever it is, 114 years old, so.
Yeah, I can understand how they did things back then. I mean, they had the equipment that we have now. My house was built in 1967 or 68. So it's, you know, they had the means to tap across the street.
It was cheaper to do it that way, though.
They had the means.
That's all it was. It was a cost savings measure for the builder.
For the builder, exactly.
Yep.
It wasn't anything with the
It wasn't,
village.
didn't have anything to do with the village, it was the builder's
The
choice.
village building inspector okayed it. Not the homeowner,
60 years ago, things were different though.
Right.
So,
not the homeowner. I mean, I'm pretty sure that if they would ask the homeowner, how would you like to be responsible for your sewer line? You know what the answer would be.
Well, we're also responsible for it to the street.
All right. So it's my burden.
Unfortunately, it is, and I feel, I've been out there, I've looked at it, and I wish we had a better solution. I think, if the village were to do anything, it would be to mitigate the water, like you said, getting into the sewer system, into the storm sewer system. Or, sorry, it'd be storm getting into the sanitary, because that's what it is, it's sanitary.
Yeah, well, you,
What the village could do is just plug that hole though, and that's a quick fix for the village from the inside. But it's not our main hole to do that. We could probably require you to do that because you're infiltrating and we have a sewer separation program process. That's just implemented. So that would be, again, that's what we talked about as a potential solution. I know you want it dug down to the tile and whatnot,
oh, yeah.
but that's a dead headed drain tile, sewer tile that came from the corner residence, which was never utilized. They actually bored across the road and tied into the main, like And I get your philosophy that you're sharing that service with one or with 5 other houses or 4 other houses. But that's a 10-inch sewer main that comes under the road. Generally, you have a 3 or 4-inch sewer that ties into the main. And that's what everybody does. We maintain from our toilet all the way out to where it taps into the main. That's just residence requirement, residence maintenance. So I get your frustration with it and I've tried to come up with solutions. Some of them you like, some of them you didn't like, but I don't think as a village, we could take that on for a private entity.
Yeah, I was told there are several means.
It's bad precedent. We did try to help and I was here in 2010 when we did try to line that. But we did reiterate that we're not taking ownership of that, nor did we ever take ownership of that. That was the village's assistance, their way to try to assist in that mitigating that problem.
Well, they can continue to help, they want to help pay for this, but I got, for this excavation, I think, the Sularskis, they gave me a bid for like $5,500.
Ridiculous. I agree.
No, that was reasonable. There was another company wanted,
Crazy high, but
wanted the, rating company, they wanted 18,000.
and again, what you need to do, again, my recommendation is that's private. You gotta get a little bit creative. You plug up that hole that goes into the manhole with concrete with, watertight concrete. You fill in the end of that cap or you dig down to that cap, because I know that's what you want. And then that service is dead on both ends.
So I believe, I like to do things right, do it right once. If you have time to do it twice, that means you have time to do it right the first time.
But at what cost? I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. I wanna, we're gonna put a Band-Aid, we're gonna put the Band-Aid on the right spot.
But you understand the village's side of it. Number one, we're not gonna take ownership of something that was built privately by a private developer. Again, we did it out of the kindness of trying to mitigate that and trying to work with you, but we never did take ownership of that.
Well, I go back to the old argument, if it was inspected by the village building inspector, if he okayed it, then it should be the village burden.
Well, if somebody builds a house and the building inspector inspects it and approves it, it's still not the village's, it's private.
The inspector gave the okay, not the homeowner.
I get that, but they do the okay, they don't take ownership of it.
I don't want to
There's
look it either,
been
I'm being thrown on me, and thrown on you as well. I mean,
I get it's frustrating and I want a solution for you too. I've done everything I can to try to help you and come up with a solution. I absolutely did.
the reason I have not done anything yet because I don't wanna see like, okay, he accepted ownership of it. I don't want to get to that point yet.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't want to be at that point. And how we go, if I decide to do it, have it worked on, how do we go about divvying up the monies from the neighbors?
The right way to do it, bore under the road or have to pay to sock out the
Oh,
road.
to have a fix right there in my front yard, to have that tile replaced. How do we divvy up the $5,000 amongst the neighbors? I have to go knock on the door to the old Mr. Scavino X amount of dollars?
Sure. Unfortunately, that it's not the village's line, Louis. I don't like it either.
It doesn't seem right. So, does not seem right at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? No? All right, moving on to new business. Action item number one, benefit plan review. Oh, yeah, unfinished business, so any unfinished business?
I have two items, please. I'm curious if anyone has heard if Mr. Canavalo or anyone else has touched base with Mr. and Mrs. Kneidler. I asked that because that was part of the dialogue that occurred in the forum with the advance. Mike, do you know anything about that offhand?
About their log jams?
If Mr. Canavalo has been out there?
Yes, yes.
Do you know the stats? Is it being taken care of?
He, I believe Tim, he did make a route up the river with his kayak and he did get some pictures, photos, what he thought he could do. So we're gonna try to come up with a ad hoc group to do that at some point, try to get that cleared out for him.
Okay. So it would be an ad hoc.
It's been, yeah, it's not gonna be something the village does, but more of a volunteer basis.
Okay. I was just curious. I had seen him the other day and he referenced both of your names. And I was curious. I didn't quite understand what he was talking about. I didn't understand clearly, so I wanted to ask tonight.
Yeah, he said he was willing to contribute. He's got a very large chainsaw that he said he was willing to donate to help out, so.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
The other question is, Danielle, have we heard anything from, and I apologize, I don't recall the gentleman's name, from the ethanol plant regarding the next step? They were gonna be doing some, I apologize, looking for, somebody that would.
A consultant.
Consultant, thank you. I was gonna say, yes. Do you know what the status is of that?
Yeah, I actually talked to Brian Treborg last Thursday.
Brian?
And they had found a couple of consultants that may be able to help us. He was going to send me that email. Or I don't know if it was gonna come from him, but maybe from the gentleman that works with him, Colin. Who I don't think was here the last time they came. I can't remember now, I apologize. I have not received that email yet. I did meet with John Holland with Michigan Rural Water and did talk to him about the fees, and what that would look like if they ran. So he and I have been trying to work through some things on that as well in the meantime. But there's not really been any progress, but we have been in communication and it is something that's still on our radar and it is moving forward just slowly.
Okay, and that person is called again, what was that person?
A consultant.
A consultant, okay, gotcha, okay. And then you did meet, then you say with John Holland, which I had seen that as well. Did you ever, was John Holland, explain why he hadn't got back with you a little bit sooner?
He did, yes.
Everything's okay, Phil?
Yes, it was a lot of internal things through that stemmed from national rural water.
Okay.
And he kind of went through all of that, which I can share, but I don't know that we necessarily need to hash all that out, but
Okay.
he did apologize. They did some restructuring as kind of the short story of what all he shared with me, but so he was doing multiple things and.
I saw that in one of the messages you had sent us, his name, and I assumed that you must have obviously touched base with him. So you touched base with him regarding that, you're waiting for them for something more with the consultant as well.
Yes.
Okay. And there's nothing more that we should be doing or can be doing on our side as far as the consultant is concerned?
Not at this time. I'm going to, once I get that information, I will reach out to them to see what information they would need, what the fees would be. I would bring that to you guys. Along with whatever other information I have prepared.
Right.
With Michigan Rural Water, and then let you guys decide from that point how we want to proceed. I'm just trying to get all the ducks in a row to provide you guys a full picture of everything instead of trying to piece it together and you guys make a decision with only limited information.
And then, the next one I wanted to ask, unfinished business, although maybe it's new business, regarding the water meters, how are things going with the water meters that have been, set up so far?
The new test meters
Yes.
are reading. We have our first monthly read-in. We did, because of the timing, it's a little bit early, so those users may actually notice a slight decrease from their average because we imported the reads prior to the 15th to make sure that everything was able to go through okay. And then that'll balance out next month. They'll have a couple extra days added to their normal month. And I'm gonna be getting each of those individual meters. Really, it's two people, because the other two are village properties, so we will internally know. But I'll be getting them some additional information individually. And then letters have gone out for the new meter installed. People have already started making appointments for
How is that
those.
going? That was my next
Um,
question.
The appointments don't come through us. They have a program that does all of that, but I know that they are several weeks out already because they're filling up.
Okay,
So I believe that they're going pretty well.
okay.
We've had a couple calls with concerns, from residents regarding the waves, the transmission waves, and I do have some information at the office for anybody who has questions. It's specific to the equipment that we're installing, and it answers a lot of questions and has some really good data. So if anybody has concerns, we're more than happy to share that with them or
About
talk
the
to them.
wavelength frequency, okay.
Yes, and then any of our residents can request that that be mounted, and I think we talked about this with the meters, that can be mounted externally so that those waves are not transmitted within inside the home.
Okay, no, those were my two questions, James, thank you.
Okay, you stole my thunder. What was your first question? Because your questions were my questions.
Oh, Mike, I'm happy to hear that.
Now, what was the first one?
I never knew you, and I was getting the same page. I kind of, me and you on the same page there, Mike.
Right, what was it?
It was the Kneisel.
One after that.
And that's.
Yes, that's the consultant.
Yes.
I think we should talk to our engineers and see if they can provide a consultant as well, because this is something I asked for previous administrators. You know, it's about how efficient can we be, how can we increase productivity, how can we decrease costs, that sort of thing. So again, you know, are we looking for large scale users? Are we looking to try to sell to a different municipality? Are we looking to, you know, run the plant three cycles at a time, or, you know, 24/7? So again, those are the kind of numbers that I would like to see, not just can we sell the ethanol plant 150 million gallons, but what is the best happy medium there to say, we need to sell this. This is the most efficient way to run the plants. You know, is it cheaper to, you know, run 3 shifts and sell to the ethanol? Is it cheaper to just
The
say,
consultant would
is
do
it more efficient to say, we can't afford to sell to the ethanol plant? Those are the questions, like the bigger picture questions. I think it would be more beneficial for the village to contribute towards that consultant to say, we're gonna get more information out of that on what we're trying to do for the future, how we're trying to plan for the future,
So
if that makes sense.
it does make sense, but I think we're already working on, it's different things. So one, the reliability study is being completed by our engineers. Jones and Henry is taking the lead. And they actually do have a draft of that they, Brent, Nora and I have reviewed. We had some questions and concerns with it. We had submitted those back to them. Once I get that back, I will be sharing that with you guys. And then that talks about the water plant specifically and the use and the equipment. It does have some information regarding the ethanol plant, or will. So I think that'll address some of your questions with the capacity of what we can treat. And then, yes,
Jones and Henry, I don't recall that name.
so our engineer is Manic Smith, and Jones and Henry works with them, so they are water and sewer experts. So typically, when it comes to our treatment plants, either of them, Jones and Henry we work with them.
Even though they're part of the Manic Smith.
Right, it's billed through, it's funneled through them, well, it
They've
is
done a lot of
billed
our
separate,
previous,
but
like sewer separation projects.
yes, they are
They know
very
our system.
familiar with our facility.
Gotcha.
But on the flip side of that's water plant is the reliability, and I don't know if you guys recall approving that, we also include Riga with that and what we provide to them, just as a refresher. On the flip side, you guys previously have approved the wastewater treatment plant master planning, which includes capacity information as well, because you brought this up before, Mike. They are still compiling all of that information with the wastewater treatment plant because it is a ton. And we don't really have a starting point at the wastewater plant with all of the upgrades like we did at water. So it's taking them a little bit longer to do all of that, but they have indicated that within the next month or so, we should have draft and some information regarding that as well. Again, we'll review that and I'll be sharing it to you guys once we get it. We usually look at it first to make sure we don't have concerns before sending it to you guys. But we are working on those things. It's my long way of saying all that, I guess.
No, it just, if we can. Look at, other long-term goals other than just providing the ethanol plant water, what's the best solution, I guess is my way to go about it.
Yeah.
And then it would be on our dime, because it would make sense for that, but, and then I guess regarding the water meters, I did have one resident reach out to me, said is this legit? Obviously, some people, don't have Facebook or don't, whatever, is there a way to say, yes, we'll take everybody, we are replacing every single meter in town?
Yes,
You need to do this, you need to sign up for it.
we've had several people ask us as well. So it is in the newsletter, which is scheduled to go out, and there's a copy of the letter saying that it is legitimate. So I'm hoping that will help let people know as well. But we're more than happy to take the calls if people have questions. And hopefully we do have our logo on that letter. So hopefully that'll at least prompt them to give us a call.
I think people saw that big TTE guy, the guys that broke into the residence home, so nobody trusts anything these days, so I totally get the understanding,
Yeah,
but
no,
again, we need to get
understand.
the information out there. So. That's, I think it's just how we get there, when we agree on a lot more than we think, so. How we get there, it's the process.
Just not everybody else in the world knows that we do.
Regarding consultants, Riemann and Plant Moran also could be good reference points, at least to vet the consultant. Remember, if Zealand Farms recommends a consultant, I question their neutrality or independence.
I think that's a very good.
So, the way I look at it is from a cost accounting standpoint, and I think Plant or Raymond may or may not be able to help guide some of that discussion. The other.
Are you suggesting that Danielle reach out to them? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, especially Raymond, who provides our annual audit, Plant provided our forensic audit, so we should have they should be able to. And because they're both in bigger markets, they might be able to provide some leads for consultants. Or at least help with the vetting process.
Check them and see.
Was there any more press release on the lead pipe? The Biden administration released some news saying there's a couple $1 billion. Has there been any movement on that?
No, I've been watching that pretty closely.
Okay.
They did come out and say that there was, it was like $10.9 billion that they were going to fund towards that, but they've not actually put any of that funding towards lead service lines
Okay.
at all. And I will continue to monitor that, because if there is any funding that becomes available.
I thought they had a time, like a very aggressive timeline, they published like 2030 or something, it was.
They said 10 years, and there's 16 years remaining from the original ruling that communities have, so it would be 6 years earlier than what was projected, but I'm not entirely sure that 10.9 billion would fund all communities across the US. Because it is a federal mandate that everybody's dealing with. I don't know, I mean,
Okay,
maybe it is, but
well, council put that on your radar. Keep a watchful eye for that. All right, any other unfinished business? Okay, new business, action item number 1, the benefit and result.
before you guys get into this, I would like to apologize. I have an error underneath the financial impact for dental benefits. I have no idea what I was doing. The actual amount, instead of $10,185.96, it's should be $30,406 even. I apologize. I Must have been partially asleep doing this, I'm not sure.
Is that Delta Dental?
Yes,
Okay.
You say that number again, please, Daniel?
yes, 30,000. Oh, shoot,
406.
no, I'm giving you last year's. I'm a mess, $34,962.72. I'm sorry, I had a council member ask what last year's amounts were, and I have those off to the side and I was mixing them up, so,
And that's the 8% increase you indicated.
Yes.
above.
Final answer?
yeah. Yes, I am so sorry. And then if we wanna, I guess just a summary really quick, I did include it in here, the two items that are renewing would be our Blue Cross Blue Shield medical benefit and our Delta dental benefits. Our vision, long-term, short-term, and life are locked in currently. So those prices would remain the same, but I did budget a 20% with Blue Cross Blue Shield. That was kind of the average, what we were seeing across other communities. Although I have to share, I was a little apprehensive. There were some communities seeing much higher than 20%. We came in at the 13.6, which is within our budget. It's actually one of the better rate increases some of the communities have seen. So I know it sounds like a lot, but silver lining will, I guess, take the wins where we can get them. And then the 8% with Delta, we had projected a 10% increase here, so that is pretty close, but it is within budget.
I asked about the Delta because we just had a discussion at school regarding the Delta dental. They are in a lawsuit, and I didn't know if you were aware of that. I was not. I just heard about that at my association meeting last week, and some members were discussing that some of their dentists are no longer taking the Delta dental plan because of that. And I bring that up, just, I didn't know if you were aware of it. Like I said, I found out at my meeting last Wednesday. And so I thought I should share that information.
I was not aware of that. I do know that we have an employee that their dentist is no longer taking it. I did not know why.
I don't know all the details of the others, but that was something I just found out. My understanding though is that, for example, my dentist still takes Delta dental. I've had no issues, but some of my colleagues, have had other dentists not take the Delta dental. So I want you to be aware of that. Okay. That's a good time to tell you or not.
Our only other option would be to look at switching to a different company. We switched to Delta last year because we actually last year decreased by 4%. And I think we've talked about this a lot. Our goal has been to try to maintain the benefits for the employees for as long as we can. So that's why we had made that switch. I can definitely talk to Franklin Benefits about it. But it would be we're gonna have a quick turnaround. I would have to get it to them before December 1, because I have to have a 30-day notice to renew our policy.
I don't think there's gonna be, we're not changing, the school's not changing the issue for everything either. It's just something I thought I should share.
Yeah, and I definitely, either way, if we don't change, I think we'll just make sure Franklin Benefits is on top of it, and they may already be. And if we have issues, thankfully, they do advocate for us, and they will call an employee's doctor and talk to them. They'll send bills and communicate and kind of take that over. So we do have that as a resource that gives me some comfort to help our employees hopefully get through that if they do have any issues.
Thank you.
It is frustrating to have to change doctors or dentists.
It is.
So I totally get that.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you hear a lot of complaints about it. I kind of like to know, then we need to know whether we need to.
I was surprised, that was the first I heard of it, I did that week in our association.
I know the one for sure, but I'll
But
make
the
sure
other
the
maybe just
employees
fine.
let me know.
Yeah, my understanding is you can continue using your dentist, you just have to pay out of pocket and get reimbursed. Rather than them billing your insurance directly. So the coverage is not changing, but who accepts it is. Has something to do with how they pay or the amount they pay, the percentage they pay. So that's why we get sued. But- All right, is there a motion to approve this renewal package?
Move to approve the benefit package renewal as recommended.
Support. All right, any other questions or comments on it?
I do have a comment, if I may. I'd like to just state this, I state this because, obviously, we, from my school point, we are having the same discussion with ourselves. I'm sure many of you with your jobs as well. I just wanted to state that, our village employees are truly fortunate to receive these valuable benefits. And I really do believe that. They have a full 5% raise this year and a comprehensive health insurance with no out-of-pocket costs. Considering that many other Americans with family health plans are paying an out-of-pocket premium amounting to an average of $6,575 a year. So our employees do not have to do that, which is a good thing. And as an average raise in 2024-25 was 4%. So again, our employees have benefited from that. I know in December, Danielle will be providing employees with a comprehensive total compensation study, which will outline exactly what each employee receives as part of their overall compensation package from the village. I think that this will give everyone a clear view of the full value of their benefits and support. It is my hope that these benefits can contribute positively to morale. I know that's been an issue, and I really hope that our employees do recognize they are receiving these benefits to create a supportive work environment for everyone. Not just a select few, everyone receives this. So I just felt the need to say that, so that our folks, I know they appreciate it. I just want to make sure that they really do realize that we appreciate what they do. And this can help with the morale. Thank you for listening.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Lisa?
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
James,
Yes. You. Lastly, approving the personnel policy amendment. This comes from the state, we don't have many options here. But there are some patterns at least. Any questions for Danielle? Go ahead.
Good. I guess, there. Something obviously we don't really have a choice in the matter. Thank you, big government. I certainly don't like it. I think it's gonna probably, you're gonna see the effects on small business and probably see some people close or decide to downsize. You know, and it's not a ton of money, but I don't think it's right for them to force us to do this. Number one, I think we should start at the very last day that's that we put it into effect, February 25th. Again, it's just money out of the village coffers, things that we have to cough up. So again, we make it effective the February 25th, 2025. I know it's only a month and almost 2 months. But again, much like Wenda said, it's benefits that we do provide, and it does cost money, and it's not always easy. Few recommendations there. It's kind of, again, it's very confusing watching the slideshow versus what the information they're providing out there. It says, the maximum is 72 hours a year. I think we should have that in the policies as well, that we will offer up to 72 hours a year. And unfortunately, it does roll over, but you can limit it to 72 hours a year. And I think we should minimize the amounts that is being forced on us. And I think that's just the right thing to do. Yes, I'm totally pro-employee, but I'm also trying to keep things in check financial wise. And then the only other question is, so we would qualify as the quote over 10 employee business, right? So then it's 72 hours a year, which is more than like the hour per 30. It's a little bit more. It's like 69 and change if you divided it up. So again, just the information out there is kind of confusing, but I would like to see us not implement until the last day possible. I think that our staff should take off increments of 1 hour. I think it's just more headache, more work for Lisa and Brandon and those guys that are documenting all this stuff. You get an hour, take it off. You got a max of 72 a year. If they're gone, they're gone. It is what it is. But I don't want nickel and dime 30 minutes on a doctor's appointment or sick time, whatever. Again, trying to make this as efficient, as cheap as possible. We don't have a choice to do it, but it is what it is.
Mike, I just wanna make sure I'm understanding what you are saying. So they accrue it at it'd be 72 hours a year.
Yeah.
But you wanna also limit that they can only use 72 per year?
Well, I guess that was what we need to decide, because again, unfortunately, it rolls over. So do we want to pay it off, at the end when somebody leaves, or do we want to just risk having, I guess, full-time employee hours be less during that fiscal year?
So the policy does say it would not be paid out upon separation. Regardless of what whether you retire, quit, are terminated, sick is not paid out, PTO is. So if they have any, let's say I retire in 25 years and I have 300 hours of sick, I get 0 paid out to me.
Well, then I say we limit it. I mean, that's still 72 free hours of quote sick time that literally anybody that works for us, whether it's full-time or part-time, could potentially bank. So I say you lose it after that 72. If you don't, we'll roll it over. But really, what is it for? It's not for
Then
anything.
it's,
Then it
yeah,
is
you
what it
really
is.
can't use it though, if
Yeah.
you roll it over, if you're limiting
Well,
the
that saves us.
72, because
That
they're gonna
saves us.
earn what they,
And that's what didn't make sense, because it kind of.
the whole law does not make sense, it's so frustrating
I
how
just,
they wrote the entire thing.
I don't wanna see somebody bank, 10 years of working here, and they've got a ton of hours, and now they're taking days off where we need them on the job. That number, I wanna be fair about it, but again, I say we go to the strictest amount of, control that we have regarding this program, so. It is what it is. I say 72 hours max, that's what they said we can do. Let's cap it at that. And if you don't use it, it is what it is. I certainly don't want to see people taking 72 hours a year off every.
In addition to PTO.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but again, this is stuff that costs us money, and it costs some small business money, and it's gonna be. It's gonna be a problem, I think.
So, I mean, you guys set the policy and we'll make the decision, but I just want to talk about a couple things. Where, one, the employees, we budget their wages already for a full year, so if they take, whether they take sick or PTO or they're here, they're paid the same amount. Obviously, when an employee is off, there's an impact because now we're shorthanded and somebody else or their department has to pick up that slack. So that really the impact is more of the burden of the other employees picking up the
Yes.
work. Not so much the cost, because they're not being paid out additional time at the end of their employment. So I mean, you're gonna pay me the same, whether, like I said, PTO or whether I'm here or sick. Where we will, however, see, I feel an impact or additional cost is that this law applies to all categories of employees, which means that our seasonal and part-time employees by law now will be required to get this same time. They'll have the same policy or same rule where it's not paid out at the end of their employment, but specifically, let's talk about the pool. We typically hire about 18, 20 seasonal employees who work full-time for us this summer. They will accrue the 1 hour for every 30 hours worked. And then we currently, if they take time off, they're not paid anything. So they could potentially take off sick, but then I still have to bring another lifeguard into work because I cannot operate the pool with one lifeguard. So that's where the pool, I think, is where we're going to see the largest impact financially. And there's regardless, because they will not accrue the 72 because they do not work a full year. I don't know that there's any way around that with the way their law is written, and we have to comply with it. And I don't know what to do there. Other than budget more, and we'll see how it impacts us. Now, hopefully, we will have employees who understand that when they call off sick, it impacts their coworkers, and, they'll be there. And I will say, since I've been with the village, we have had exceptional aquatic center employees, who do a fabulous job. They're very hardworking kids, so I'm hoping that, they're gonna understand and see that. And I mean, unfortunately, people get sick though. My concern with the limiting is that 72 hours, I think, seems like a lot, but if I go out skiing with my family and I break my knee and I have to be off for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, that 72 hours goes fairly quick. And then I obviously would start dipping into my PTO at that time, but they would bring those balances down. And so I don't know, just something to think about. Again, you guys set the policy and that's what we'll implement, but. Oh. Yeah, and she brings up a good point too, well, it's a little bit, I hate this law. So it is limited to sick time. Right now, PTO can be used for whatever. We don't require any documentation, which is wonderful. It simplifies our life. It makes it easy for the employee. With this law, it does have to be used for sick time. So I cannot go on vacation and take this time. And if I take off more than 3 consecutive days of this time, then the employer can request that there be documentation. Now, the law does say, again, to kind of further complicate, that if the employer requests documentation, that they have to then pay for that documentation. However, there's also a law that says we have to comply with FMLA, which says you have to submit a document from a doctor saying why you are going to be off for more than 3 consecutive days. And that's not funded by the employer. So the employer could choose to accept FMLA paperwork as documentation why the employee's off, and that they're not just for whatever reason taking off sick time. There's a lot of nuances that go with all of
I'm
this.
not saying any of our employees would do that, but how do there's no way you can police that.
It's a garbage social program because if you watch the slideshows, you can request up to 7 days advance of that sick time, like. I'm gonna be sick in 7 days, the whole program is. Bureaucracy's dumb.
But I think
Well, that's
that's if
for-
you're having surgery or, because then also sick time means, like, I could take care of my child if they were having an operation.
That's
That
really,
would be a
that's really a fine
qualifying.
line on that, but sick time should be, I've got no other options from sick now. I'm sorry, we offer a lot of PTO. And it's not up to us to know what you do what you want with it. Now we're having balanced PTO in this other quote sick time. I just feel like people are gonna take advantage of it. I'm not saying our employees are gonna say everybody across the board. Rightfully so, in a small business would absolutely do that.
I
Everybody wants
don't
4 days off,
disagree
but
with
it
you.
costs us money.
The whole thing is
It costs us
frustrating, but we do have to comply. It's kind of unique too, because like really, if whatever policy, we're one of the first communities to do a policy. We had to create this from scratch based on a very confusing law that makes no sense to anybody. So probably, like, I would anticipate what we decide here is also probably going to be duplicated in other communities facing this same challenge. So I agree with everything you said. To me, what I proposed was the best way for us to minimize the impact and move forward complying with the law. Now, there has to be some policy change. So if you guys don't like this, I can go back to the drawing board and rehash it and come up with a different way to do this. This to me just seemed to be the most clear, straightforward way to comply with what I thought was minimal impact as possible. We do have some time, that's why I'm bringing it to you guys in advance as well.
And Dave's perspective on this whole thing as well.
So Dave did not review this, Greg Schultz with Keller Toma did, because we have used them for personnel. And they have fully reviewed this, and it does to make sure that we are meeting all of the requirements. It's been shared with the department heads and the employees to make sure that they don't have any major concerns.
And obviously none of this time.
Correct, they're not.
So they've seen it, Toma has seen it.
Yes, yep, legal approved it and the employees at this time.
So a full-time employee that works 2,080 hours would accrue just over 69 hours. And we're looking to say, what's the cap? 72.
Yes. Well, that's not in the current policy. I did not draft it that way, but the law does say that you can cap it at 72.
Okay. Are we looking for a different cap?
So I did not cap it because I said it would not be paid out.
We also don't want them to accrue up to 10 weeks of vacation or 10 weeks of sick time. But
It's much like all the other quote insurance,
right.
you know, that we're talking about with PTO and banking time and comp time and everything else. It's not just that, it's, yeah, I totally want to protect our employees. 100%. But again, they're here to do a job, and we as council members have to make sure that the jobs are being done. We're very limited on our staff, and when one's down, it does affect, whether it's that front office, whether it's the DPW, whether it's the police department, whether it's the water plants. It totally affects every other person on that job. And again, this is a BS socialist garbage program that just allows people to screw the system, and I don't like it, and I think we should minimize it for the fairness of all of our staff and the fairness of our village taxpayers. We should minimize it as much as possible.
It does provide some sort of insurance though, for say someone who needs to have surgery on their knee or their hip. And it's supporting an eye doctor. Right? So it does provide, well, we could provide up to 9 days of compensation.
You've also got short-term disability, you've got,
Yeah.
you know, your other vacation that you.
Which a lot of surgeries don't qualify for short-term disability. But we do have an aging workforce, thank you, Bill, and the, you know, body parts wear out. Ankles, knees, hips, shoulders. But yeah, we've got to find some sort of happy medium there. Anybody have any, Mike's had some good input, does anybody have anything, the 30-minute interval to me seems excessive, I'd say an hour.
I did the 30 because that's how our PTO is as well. So I tried to match it so that we weren't creating two different
You
policies
can take PTO in 30-minute intervals?
because it can be used for anything. So if I wanted to take 30 minutes to go to the dentist or whatever,
So for consistency,
30 minutes.
Yeah,
That's-
I could go 72 times to the dentist. Unless it's Delta, then you're not.
that's right, you're not.
well, if it takes me 2.5 hours at the dentist, I don't have to do 3 hours. Since we all know I'm probably not going in 30 minutes. But again, I mean, whatever, if we want to do it differently, but I did not change it in the PTO.
Any other input? No? Chief as a recruiting tool, is there a cap that you'd like to see?
On the sick bank,
Yes,
uh,
I know we've talked about it over the last couple meetings, I can't remember what it is.
without having read this opinion, I think I'd be speaking out of turn, because I really don't know what the requirements are. We kind of listened to Danielle basically on this issue. I will say this, though, when it comes to sick time versus PTO, right now, an employee can just call up and say, I'm taking today off, and they don't have to tell me they're sick or anything. With the sick time, you know, it has to be a medical issue. It has to be sick of a child, sick of a dependent, or a medical procedure or something like that. Like Danielle said, if there is some control over the sick time usage, unlike the PTO. So we do have some ability to regulate to a degree. Now, I will tell you, I've had experience dealing with abuse of sick time. It's a pain in the neck. It's the worst kind of internal matter that you can deal with as far as personnel goes. That's been my experience anyway with another department. When you're trying to make a abuse of sick time case, it is extremely difficult, and it can be a real headache.
Then they
But
specifically written into that law to where if we try to control
It's a
that,
headache
they
both
can
ways.
go after us.
it's a headache both ways. So I don't anticipate we're gonna, I really don't think we'll have a problem. I mean, it's just a question of how you guys are going to hold the bank.
Okay,
So I don't see, for my officers anyway, I don't see them going out and saying, no, I got, 6 days, I'm gonna call in sick. I don't see that happening.
okay,
I've had problems in the past getting take PTO because they didn't want to screw over the other officers. So,
appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, any other suggestions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Are we saying we're gonna cap that 72 then? Is that what I'm reading here?
There's no cap in the policy. We can propose one. 72. Is that what the essentially saying is the annual?
Yeah, so, yeah, the law says that, employers are not required to permit an employee to use more than 72 in a single year. So we have to accrue it at that, but they're also saying you can cap it so that an employee, once, if they use 72, but and it's weird because they can't earn more than that, but it wouldn't, and the law says they have to roll it over. But if they, like, let's say I roll over 40 hours and then have my 72, I could only use 72 of the 40. But it's counterintuitive because then I'm never gonna use the 40 because you set a cap and I don't get paid out at the end of employment. So really, the law is saying you have to roll it over, but you don't have to let them use it.
Easier if it just said use it or lose it.
Yes. That, I mean,
Which it kind of is, you're
Yes.
correct. But then they also come back and say, you have to roll over if they don't
yeah,
use it.
and it does say employers we're not required to limit it to that, but that we can. The rest of it, there are certain things like we are required to accrue it at the set rate. We're required to provide it for all categories.
So in this motion, we would have to cap that 72.
Yes, if that's what you guys, yes. Or you can include it in your motion, I make the amendment, or I can make the amendment and bring it back to you guys so that you can see it. We've done that in the past as well with other things. It is whatever your preference is on that. I'm good either way. I don't think one way's better or worse than the other.
Does this need to be part of policy for our union negotiations?
Will be everybody.
It's, yeah, it will be everybody, but it is part of that
So I don't think.
discussion and
If they're gonna ratify that contract has this language, right?
it does, correct.
Right, okay. We need to get something on passed tonight, is what I'm saying. in order for that contract to be awarded.
We want to match that, yes. And that contract's not been yet approved, but it is, the subcommittee and the union have come to a consensus on what's gonna be coming forward.
So that contract has this already in it?
Correct.
I would have it in it before it's approved.
Because we have to present a draft contract to you guys for approval. So it has everything that that was negotiated and discussed at the subcommittee and union level to come to you guys. So any things that they ask for are part of that.
Well, they just threw that in knowing it was coming. We threw that part in.
Well, kind of, we did put it in, but they had made a request for vacation time and that was put in. So yes and no, it was both. That was part of the negotiation process.
Do you remember the start date for that? Is that January 1?
Yes,
What's the proposed start date for this in January?
it was January 1, but Mike has brought up that he would want to consider effective to 25/25, which would be our latest date possible. We have to be in compliance by February 25th of 2025.
It sounds like there would be.
And I guess, so you guys know where the January 1 date came in. I actually had proposed the January 1 date because my thought process was that would give us from January 1 to February 25th, that if there were something that, because this is a brand new policy that nobody else has it, if there was something that we didn't think of or that came up, it would give us that little over a month to be like, oh, wait, we didn't think about this. We need to fix this to make sure we were in compliance. So that was the only reason I proposed it a little bit before, because it's hard to anticipate if we are missing something until we actually put it to real life use.
But if it's already. being
I
posed-
don't think that's going to happen. I was just trying to be cautious in case it did.
I don't think we can approve it the way it is right now, unless we make an amendment. Perhaps, because if Mike is making that suggestion for that February date, that would be one amendment.
That's if you agree with that February date, if not, it could
Right.
proceed on January 1st of 2025.
Yeah, you make the motion on those.
Yeah.
How can we make the motion however we want, because don't we have to have that date stated?
Yeah,
You can,
right.
so the proposed or recommended motion does say you just changed January 1
I'm
to
with, okay,
February 25th.
okay, so that's all we would have to change, understand.
And Tim brought up,
72.
if you're wanting
Yeah,
to amend it to have a cap, that should be in the motion as well.
Well, I just want to be clear, because I thought you said they can't do more than 72 hours. Yeah, we can cap it at 72. Those are a sense capping it if they can't use more than 72.
They can under the current policy. The law allows us to cap it at 72, but they can't earn more than 72.
Attorney
It's-
language.
Yes, it's very confusing and backwards.
I don't want to scare you, but sick time, it's a can of worms. It's gonna be, it really is. There's so much. It's gonna be complicated no matter what we do.
And it will give our staff almost 2 weeks to utilize their PTO on a much better option. You know, I mean, I would prefer them to use the sick time over the PTO for quote being sick. But that also gives them a lot more time off, which they've asked for, which they kind of beat into our heads that they want more capability to do that. So again, that's already almost 2 weeks more that they're gonna get. Use your time wisely, use it right. It's my philosophy, but you know, we all want more time off. I totally get it. But again, it affects every other staff member, especially in a small village like ours.
But unlike the PTO, using the sick time can be disciplinary action.
Say that again, please.
Unlike the PTO, abusing the sick time can be the disciplinary action. So we do have a little more control over it, significantly more control as you go in the PTO.
You're saying you can require a doctor slip every time they call in sick now after.
Only after if it's more than,
days,
yes, the.
Only
fourth or
every
more.
4 days.
Correct.
4 or more.
So they call in for mental health days.
And then we can get into an issue of. There's issues of excessive use, not even just 3 days, but they're using. 1 day every week, then you get into patterns, and it's a can of worms. It is a can of worms.
And it's affected by more than just this law, like I touched on FMLA also impacts all of this as well. Because FMLA says that if it's 3 consecutive days or any 3 days, regardless if they're consecutive for the same item. So if I was gonna take off time to care for my father who was ill and he has the same illness 5 days, I have to file FMLA. So there is a lot that goes into this. That it's more than just this one law. The one law just kind of makes it, yeah, yes.
No question of things were easier without it.
Right.
Yeah.
And they specifically spell it out in a large portion of information of if you feel that we're violating it by going after the employer or whatever, how they file a complaint, et cetera. Again, I mean, it's like they almost are pushing for that that's gonna cost us down the line in legal fees and everything else, just even if somebody files a complaint and it's still not legit. Again, it's gonna cost us a lot more money, unfortunately.
Yeah, I did send you guys a couple links in one of my weekly summaries, I think a couple weeks ago with information regarding this. I just attached the brochure in the council packet because it would just get to be a lot of pages. And I'm not sure if you guys peeked at that. They have a video on the state of Michigan website as well for Earned Sick Time Act. But they've got a few different documents that kind of break it down and try to explain it.
All right, do we want to take action tonight?
Thanks, she said we had to.
Well, yeah. We do. So I'm pretty sure the union negotiations at January 1st will start. So be mindful of creating 2 classes of employee.
I mean, fortunately, we won't really have any part-timers that I can take during that period, so it really wouldn't, it would be all full-time,
Right.
we would be discussing the January 1st to February 25th.
The only part-time employees that we would have during that time would be our custodian and our Parks and Recreation coordinator.
So you're saying we motion for February 25th, that would conflict with the other.
Potential start date of.
Okay, I'll make a motion then. I'm going to approve the personnel policy, amending the leave time section, right? As amended. I'm gonna amend it with cap of 72 hours. Increments of 1 hour, and it's effective January 1st, 2025.
I'll support that.
So January 2025, you say, Mike?
Yeah, that way, hopefully, maybe we can get our union ratified and just go forward, but, yeah.
I would like it to say cannot accrue or use more than 72 hours in any calendar year. Because we're gonna roll stuff over. Let's say you got 72 hours this year and you use 40 of it. 32 is gonna roll over to next year. So you get another 72, now you're looking at another 4. So if we can't, how much you can earn is at 72. You can't use more than you have. So I would like it to be more specific than what you're saying there. That you cannot accrue more than 72 and you cannot use more than 72 in any calendar year. I like the 1 hour increment usage.
But the problem with that is it specifically states in the law that it can, that it does roll over. That's the only ugliness of it.
Okay, that's fair. So that's fair. Let's say this year I have 72 hours. I haven't used them. My 72 rolls over to next year. I still got 72. I don't have more than 72 use or to roll over.
It's never more than seven.
It's never more than 72 that rolls over.
So rather than a cap, you want to say, max.
Well, like I
I
said,
don't think we can do
comply
that.
with the law. So the law says that,
Mm.
so if an employee works overtime, that is hours worked and goes towards the 1 hour for every 30 hours. We can cap what they use, which is what Mike included in the motion, but they will accrue the 72, but if they work the overtime amount that would put them over that, we would have to pay it under the law. So we can't cap what's earned or accrued,
okay.
just what's used.
Let them have the balance. It exceeds 72.
Yes, that is my understanding of, and I can double check with the attorneys, but I'm pretty sure that is how the law is written. Because we talked about that in quite a bit of length, when we were talking about accruing it.
May I ask a question? So, cause I'm confused. If they roll over any amount of time, but you're putting a cap on how much they can use, then the time that rolls over can never be used?
Yes, that's what I said earlier.
Yeah.
If I, because that was my example, if I get 72 hours this year and I use 32 sick and I roll over 40. And I can only use 72 next year, I will always have that 40
And it's
rolling
gonna
over.
turn out year after year after year. So there's a bank there of time that they accrued by law that
But
we're gonna.
cannot.
That's get paid out, so.
Correct.
No, not paid out. You're saying they can't use it.
They can't use or get paid out, neither, they would never see that.
Look at Shadow bank.
You wrote that law, you write
I
that?
didn't write that. That's what it is. I'm just, it just seems a little counterintuitive.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It kind of is that user.
Yeah, they just didn't wanna
They
say
just don't
that,
wanna say. it.
But that is a good question because.
but they put it on the employers, because the law doesn't say that you must, or that you're required to limit, it says that you can't.
I'm just,
And they're
I don't have
to use
an
it.
opinion, but
Yes.
if it's a rollover bank, and you're not gonna allow them to roll over, it seems consistent with the intent of the law.
That is what
That's
the
the
law
way the law
says.
works.
So they're gonna accrue this at, if they're paid bi-weekly, and they work 40 hours per week, they're gonna accrue for the fact that 2 2/3 of an hour is what they're gonna accrue in one 80-hour pay period. They're gonna accrue it every pay period. They're not gonna be handed that at the beginning of the year,
Correct.
like they are with their PTO time.
No, we accrue our PTO per
Oh, that's right.
PTO per
We
pay
do.
period as well.
Okay.
And the
So-
reason we do that is so that if an employee doesn't work a full year, and especially specifically with our PTO, because we pay that out. So we don't wanna give them a PTO bank ahead of time, and then in January 31st, they resign and we pay them out a full year of PTO.
The way this is specified, could they do that with their sick time? Work the first 30 days of the following year and use 3 or 4 of their days to get paid for it.
Yeah, they can.
So in that sense, they could roll over 40 and use 24 of it.
We're encouraging them to use their sick time because they're gonna lose it
To
next
use
calendar
it,
year.
basically.
So
Basically,
that's
it's research.
the problem.
Right. Because we're gonna lose it, so we're gonna try to now use it all up. Either way, there's no, I don't know, easy solution to this.
There isn't. I don't think.
Yeah, because by rolling it over, you could take the first 72 hours off of the next year, year or two. We close for the first 72.
2 days at a time.
It does make sense that you will take a few years to get to the 72 hours. If you are using sick time periodically throughout the year, it will take a couple, 2 to 3 years to get up to 72.
And that's what I'm sticking with the minimum. It gives our employees almost 2 extra weeks of quote sick. to utilize. They can use it as such, but again, it's also protecting the rest of our staff. And making sure that, the village is operating and the taxpayers are also getting the services.
It is a nice, it is a nice thing. We'll give it that, but that's all I'll give it.
I will say this one, by not allowing us to use this bank that is approving, what we're encouraging them to do is use that time before the end of the year, because they know they're not gonna be able to ever use it. So we're actually creating it sometimes, usage problems, or at least the inherent possibility that that could happen. I don't know.
The only thing that would stop it would be the ethical wall thing, again, if I could.
Good recruiting.
With somebody that does.
Yep, good recruiting,
Okay, any other discussion? Are we ready to vote?
Who made the second?
I did.
Thank you, Jerry.
Jerry, Mike made the motion.
Can you reread the motion, please?
Let me read.
Either one.
Okay.
Go for it, Lisa, you got this.
I move to approve the personnel policy amending the leave time section as amended with the cap of 72 hours used per year in increments of 1 hour.
Back to January 1.
Sorry, yes.
Okay. Get on that?
One more question. Could we amend this down the road if we needed to?
Yeah, you guys can always amend any policy if need be.
Yeah, that's.
It would just,
Make sure.
We needed to amend it, you're not locked in.
yes.
How would we know if somebody's abusing it though? It's a council members, how would we know?
Tim,
You
this
have to ask.
very similar question was posed to me today. And I actually am racking my brain trying to figure out how I will communicate that to you all in an efficient, fair way.
When your
So-
police chief looks more stressed out than the other.
So I will get back to you on that, but seriously, I'm kind of laughing because really a question was asked earlier that made me, stumped me, so I'll let you know. You would be told by me in some fashion.
Okay.
Hit it, Lisa.
Gwen,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill, Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
James.
Yes. All right, reports. Any questions on the reports?
Always appreciated. Thank you very much.
Very much so.
Can't have too much detail.
Try to be quickly, so the wastewater plant. Said the guys aren't really cleaning up, doing the line testing, they're making a mess out there. Apparently spreading whatever they suck out of the back truck.
We're gonna clean it all up at the end of the project. We're good.
We're good,
Yeah.
okay, but I've had a resident complain about their cleanup too, like in their property where they're potholing down and they're bringing up stone and everything else. Is there a way to address that at least? Are we gonna rake it up nice, are we gonna seed it?
Yeah, so they'll get topsoil and seeding. I'm sorry, I thought you meant what was being dumped at the wastewater plant.
Oh, yeah. that-
Yes, they will, and if anybody has concerns or issues, let me know, and I can make sure that it gets looked at when we do the final walkthrough on that. They have done all of the identifying, so now it'll be all the cleanup and remediation.
Okay. I'll get you the address.
The backfill with the identifying is.
They backfilled everything so that we didn't have open holes, but they did not do the topsoil and seeding yet
Okay.
on the soft openings.
Okay. Thank you.
And then, sorry, also, under Parks and Rec, I'm assuming it's DPW removed from the skate park ramps.
That was actually several years ago, yes, the wood underneath was rotten. So that was removed, they repaired part of that, and then we do have in the budget this year to replace that. I did see that in the minutes, I've had a chance to talk to anybody about it. I'm
Uh,
not-
which ranch is it that?
It was a smaller one, I believe, that I don't know that. I think it was before me that they did that, because since I've been here, there was one that they repaired. But that wood underneath it, because we bought those used, is my understanding, and they just get rotten and moisture and. DPW does what they can, but.
Patrick Young, I was just gonna make that comment, you know, when Chief, you had just mentioned about, the good recruiting. It sounds like Patrick has been a good fit out there, and things have been going really well with him, Danielle. So that's nice, just nice to hear. Good to hear that. And DDA has been, quite busy. I'm looking at you, Ken, because your wife's not sitting beside you, so relay to her that it's looking good. I did see the Yuletide pamphlet, and that's probably one of the nicest pamphlets I've seen for Yuletide. And that was done very well. I emailed her on that as well. But, she did a nice job on it. Oh, Parks and Rec. Hey, oh, survey. Maybe think of this. Have you guys had a chance to take the park survey yet?
Yep.
Okay, Mike, you have as well? Okay. Eric, have you had that
No,
opportunity? If you would please, and James, and if you would as well, that family members, anybody else for the Parks and Rec. The goal is to have 200 surveys completed, please. And I think we just went over like 160 or something of that nature. Yeah, so if you could get,
Do you wanna broadcast us where that is?
I saw mine on,
It's
Chief as,
on the Blissfield website.
it is on the village website. I don't recall where.
I took mine through Facebook.
And mine was
It is
Facebook as
pinned
well.
on Facebook, right, if you go to Blissfield Parks and Rec, it's right up top, there's a link for it.
Thank you. Say it again, Danielle, roll out so anybody else online.
Yes, top of Facebook on Blissfield Parks and Rec, it's pinned right at the top, there's a photo of Blissfield, you can click on that.
And then I believe Emily Mullins has also started her the chair of her registration for the Light Up Park. And I know that we had gone ahead and done something like that before. I have no idea what it costs, but I'll talk to you guys about it at the next meeting.
So it's not actually on the about our parks on the website there. Correct, you have to go on Facebook.
It's not just on Facebook, isn't it on our website too, Danielle? I got mine off of Facebook.
No, I emailed it out and I had put it on Facebook as well. And then there are QR codes here at the village office, you can take a paper. I've got a whole stack of them up there, there's table tents throughout the businesses and then some yard signs as well. I'll grab you one, Tim, before you leave, so you can use the QR.
Maybe
to
there
take
should,
that.
maybe in the about our parks, there should be a survey on it, linked to it. Linked on it. If that's what you're kind of suggesting.
Yeah, I was just looking on here to see if there was a place I could just take it right here, what I can do with that also.
Any other questions, comments on the reports?
When you complete that master plan, I guess, is that something that doesn't become like official, it kind of getting close up through the chain, right, of it becomes, whether it's part of our master plan or et cetera, it becomes utilized as sort of a overall council vision, right, but it's not
That's
just
my
as official.
understanding correctly, yeah.
Correct, yes, so the Parks and Recreation Board will draft it and make a recommendation to you guys, and then council will have final approval of that. And then it really should be, like coexist with your city village master plan and.
Right. It should not be, it's
Yeah.
not a separate entity, it should be all together.
Yes. It'll just be more hyper focused on the parks, because in the master plan, it just kind of touches on them, it doesn't get into the specific Parks and Rec goals.
Okay, so.
Okay, council discussion.
Danielle, I had one thing, was this, the lights on the trust bridge aren't working.
Yeah, yes, they're not, I am,
Not through lack of not trying.
yes.
I just didn't know why, it was, we put bikes across it.
I don't know why either. Parks and Recreation Board, actually, we did a volunteer night and they helped me. I talked to the company that we bought those through. And they gave me some recommendations, wanted us to separate it. They said that the length that the power was running was too long. So we did that. They still aren't. So I talked to my husband to see if I can get him to come out and help me because they were damaged. Unfortunately, I'm not sure exactly, but somebody had like taken something and hit them. And he was able to get them repaired for me because he does a little bit of electrical stuff. So I'm hoping he can help me troubleshoot that and see what's going on. I am working on them. It's a matter of getting him here and trying to figure it out, or if we need to call that company again to see. And it's hard because I have to test them at night, but I can't really see what I'm doing at
Our
night.
time change next week. Get this,
Yes.
Skippy.
Yeah,
You go test my six of love.
Hey, 4 o'clock, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What about the lights on the trees down on that stretch on 223? Are those still lit at night?
Jackie, this is not public comment.
Public comment.
No, this is council discussion.
Hey.
I'll look into it, Jackie. Really quick, sorry, James.
Okay, I just wanted to give her.
Those trees are supposed to come out.
Yeah.
So are we done with council discussion
Mhm.
and reports?
Supposed to be replaced.
Yeah, I'm working, that's something I'm looking at too. Have you seen the price of trees lately?
Consumer grant?
Yeah, we could look at that. Mhm.
We'll give a council discussion then. All right, public comment. Items on the agenda, items not on the agenda. Jackie Davis.
I asked about the lights on the trees that have been replaced, and I know of it at least twice. And they don't come on, why not? And then we're putting more lights on the bridge,
Well, Rotary's putting lights on the bridge, on the
Well,
arch bridge.
but we're paying for the electricity, or they're supplementing, but still. This is what happens so many times, we have this neat stuff, and it's not maintained. And we forget about it, and we'll get more new neat stuff, well, we already have some good neat stuff.
Well, hold on.
We need to take care
For
of it.
the arch bridge, I didn't think we were supplementing any of that project.
Well, I know for Ray Jones brought the light for those other trees when he was still in office.
Well, I think those lights have a lifespan, that you're right, they need to be replaced or removed. And at this point, I think
They're
we're
still
looking at
on the
removing the
tree.
trees.
I think we were having a problem with receptacles getting wet and it was kicking the.
The lights worked last year, we do have issues with like the salt spray and stuff from the road, but I didn't think we turned those lights on until the holidays, so they wouldn't be on yet, as we usually just do through like November and December. So it's not year round lights,
Well,
they were on last year.
during the summer, my God, it's not there till 10 o'clock, so,
Yeah.
you know, if they're on.
DPW did get them operational last year,
Well, I hope so.
yes, and
That's more visible.
and I'll double check on it, but I believe we plan on turning them on again for the holiday season. But I'll look into it.
Halloween
No.
holiday.
What's that?
Halloween holiday.
Oh, and I don't want to jack them.
Any other public comment? Just as a member of the public, not council, I'd just like to say good luck in the upcoming elections. There's a number of people on council that are running and members of the audience. So thank you for putting your name in the hat and looking to do some public service. I'd also like to take a minute to thank everyone on council for the last, what I've enjoyed, 4 years with you. 2 years with some, 3 years. Thank the chief, thank the village staff, Brandon, Lisa, Danielle. It's been very enjoyable. I think we've moved the needle in the right direction. I hope you guys can continue doing so. just so you know, I'm always here as a reference. If you can't come up with, well, why we made a decision, you need to pick my brain, please feel free, I'll be around. But best of luck to everyone come November 5th, and I don't care who you vote for, but just get out and exercise your right to vote. It's super important in this democratic society experiment we live in. So good luck, everybody.
Thank you for your leadership.
And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
You still have to pull all the streetlights that fall down out of the roof.
I can continue doing that. I can knock them over and pick them up.
Living on that corner.
First responder to lights down.
I'm over there.
Mike and Bill, Lisa. Hey, one more time before we hit the lights. Yeah, I won't be here next week. So I don't see this.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
James.
Yes, meeting adjourned. Next meeting, November 11th, 2024. Thank you, everyone.